fashion coordinated. The tree was gigantic. It was really a lovely picture.
Wife makes me do all of that.
I have no doubt,
That's just how marriage goes.
And it looks like you guys had a wonderful Christmas. You got a bunch of small children, which makes Christmas all the better.
Running around all day long. Made a couple trips to CVS to get batteries.
That was that was me.
Yep, I was there. A bunch of batteries. We need 4 more batteries. So
I'm out.
There it is.
I was the battery.
Brian actually went. Jenna sent one of the many people that prefer to CVS.
Not what Jenna did. That is not what Jenna. I sent Brian.
Listen, she gave him half a day off on Christmas.
No, I didn't.
That was nice.
Terrible what you're saying. Brian, let's talk about the Seahawks, who on Sunday lost starting running back Chris Carson and backup running back C.J. Prosise to season-ending injuries. So that opened the door for 33-year-old Marshawn Lynch to return to his former team. Lynch, who last played for Seattle back in 2015, met with the media on Tuesday. Take a listen to this. Yep.
What brought you back this time?
Happy holidays. Merry New Year. Y'all have a great day. It's a great feeling to be back. Thank you.
So nothing's changed as far as press conferences, although he smiles a little bit more. Brian, you think Lynch will have a real impact as the Seahawks attempt to make a Super Bowl run?
Well, I don't know that he's going to have the impact that he once had as far as his ability on the field. But the biggest thing that he's going to bring back to this locker room is attitude. And that's what this thing in Seattle was built on. You remember the Legion of Boom. You remember what happened with the offense just trying to play bully ball and run through people. That was started by Marshawn Lynch because he brought the attitude. He brought that passion. And so he brings that back to an offense that really with Chris Carson, you had that same type of thing. A running back that was willing to run through a wall for this football team, a running game that defenses had to respect, third best in the league. And the other part to that I love is that when you have that type of running game, it allows Russell Wilson to do the things that he does best. Play fakes and then throw the ball deep. That allows Lockett to get involved in the game. That allows Metcalf to get involved in the game. And Marshawn brings that to this table. The other thing it brings is pass blocking ability. Rashad Penny, who got hurt a couple weeks ago, he just wasn't very good in pass blocking. Marshawn Lynch is very good at pass protection. And the last time they played the 49ers, like they'll play this week, the 49ers had 5 sacks. So he will help protect the quarterback. I think he brings all those things. The biggest question is impact on the field. Will he be game ready? It's just hard to tell. It's hard to think that you've been off for a complete season and you're coming back and you're ready to play a football game, but he's going to bring that passion, that attitude, and maybe that's the edge that the Seahawks need.
Yeah, I think he's definitely going to help in the locker room. As you said, the attitude. Also, he's a connection to the glory years, where the Super Bowl and all that. So I think all that's great. And also, if you look at his last 2 years in Oakland, where they weren't typical Marshawn Lynch years, however, he averaged 4.2 yards a carry. That's right around his career average of 4.3 and better than some of his years when he averaged below 4 yards a carry. So that would tell you that, you know, a lot of guys, when they retire as running backs, you can see it in their yards per carry just dropping drastically. That's not the case with him. Maybe the rest did his body good. He's only 33, which I know that's old for a running back. But, you know, some guys are playing a little longer. We saw C.J. Anderson. I know it wasn't the same situation he had been with Carolina, but he had been cut. He goes to the Rams and plays well. And as you said, their offensive line, obviously they give up a lot of sacks. But they can run block. You know, Chris Carson and Rashad Penny had great success. So I think there'll be holes for Lynch to run through. So I'm going to say he'll have a pretty decent impact on that team.
Here's where I think Marshawn Lynch is going to have the biggest impact, because I don't think he's going to be great. And I love Marshawn. I think he's one of the most interesting people in sports, and the dichotomy between how he feels talking to the media and how he feels talking to people he's comfortable with, I think is really fascinating. And I think he's
never been a beat writer.
Well, no, I get that part of it. I've never been the one having to ask him the questions. But the reason I think it's going to be good for Seattle potentially is I think it's going to force them out of this archaic offense they've been running the last few years, which is use Russell Wilson in case of emergency instead of use Russell Wilson like he's Russell bleeping Wilson. Last year, they lost the playoff game to the Cowboys because they were so insistent on staying committed to the run, even though every time Russell Wilson dropped back, they got around 9 yards per play, and every time they ran the football, they got around 3 or fewer yards per play. The Seahawks have overachieved to their talent this year. Now, I was higher on them than most. I had them winning the division going into this season. But if you look at their point differential compared to their win-loss record, they do not line up. They have a gaudy win-loss record despite not having blown out anyone this year except for the one game against the Cardinals, and they went and promptly lost to the Cardinals second time around. They are escaping through great Russell Wilson plays at the end of games, other teams making mistakes at the end of games. The only way that they're going to be able to go on a real playoff run is if they are forced into, because Pete Carroll doesn't want to do it, the coordinator up there doesn't want to do it, as far as, you know what, Russell, you're one of the 3 best people in the entire world at what you do. Drop back 40 times and make magic happen. Now, you might say that's not Seattle Seahawks football. Correct. But if they are going to beat more talented teams, it's going to be not because Marshawn Lynch all of a sudden, to me, looks like 2014. It's going to be because you don't have Chris Carson, you don't have Rashad Penny, you don't have CJ Prosise, and you have no choice but to say, you know what, Russell, make magic happen. That, to me, is the bigger story here, that we wouldn't be talking about Seattle adding a running back if it was anyone other than this guy right here, because you're adding a replacement level player at this point in the season. Now, maybe he'll be brilliant, and that'd be a cool story as well. But I think the story of this is, does it make them use their best player the way they should have been using their best player the last couple of years?
They had the option of doing that all season long, but their run game had been that good because their offensive line had blocked well enough. I think, and so I do agree with you. They're going to have to score some points here. They're going to have to put up 24, 27 points a game. Russell Wilson certainly has the ability to do that. But I also believe that Marshawn gives you that 3rd and 1. Hand the ball off to 24. Let him go ahead and get those yards. He gives you those attitude plays, which make a difference in the game. It makes a difference on the sideline and in the locker room. They also know that a guy, and to your point, he's a throwback to the past. He's a guy that has been there and done that, has been a Super Bowl champion. He certainly would have been another Super Bowl champion if they would have handed him the football. And so when I look at Marshawn, it's much more than just what Russell Wilson is going to do. It's about the attitude, the collective attitude for the team.
But do you think they're going to go further because of Marshawn Lynch? Does anyone here think the Seattle Seahawks are a better team this year because of adding him?
I don't think so. I don't think they're a better team. I think Chris Carson probably fit their offense
a little
the best.
bit better.
But, I mean, you don't know what you're going to get from Marshawn. The good thing for Marshawn Lynch is that he wasn't built, as far as his career-wise, especially on speed. It wasn't, because as you get older, you lose your speed. He was built on running people over, toughness, aggressive running, and that's something, that's an attitude. That's